Good morning, board members and guests. We want to call this meeting to order. Public notice of this meeting was properly posted at the South Carolina Board of Registration for Foresters Office, Synergy Business Park, King Street Building, and on the board's website, and provided to all requesting persons, organizations, and news media in compliance with Section 30-4-80 of the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. Members of the public who wish to observe may do so at our live stream. We're going to ask for an invocation from Mr. Joey Austin on this morning.
Dear Lord, we just come to you now. We thank you for your time, Lord. We thank you for this safe travel of everyone here, Lord. We just ask that you keep them safe as they travel home, Lord. And we just ask that you be with this meeting and help us to keep our focus clear and to help us to make the right decisions. It's in your name. Amen.
So much, Mr. Austin, for the invocation. Moving right along for the adoption of the agenda. Have all board members have an opportunity or had an opportunity to review the agenda for the December 9th, 2025 Foresters Board meeting? May I have a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion to accept.
We got a motion from Mr. Sly. Do I have a second? A second from Mr. Austin. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion does carry. Thank you so much. We're going to have an introduction of all board members and others. We'll start to my left and your right. So if you can go ahead, Mr. Sly.
William Sly, retired, Jordan Lumber.
James Hollis, New Indy Catawba.
Guy Saban with the South Carolina Forestry Commission.
Joey Austin, Austin Logging.
Brandon Babb, W.K. Brown Timber.
Michael Mills, Mills Forestry Company.
Johnny Rose, Board Executive.
Mary League, Advice Counsel to the Board.
Tia Williams, Board Administrative Assistant.
All right, thank you all so very much, and welcome to the last scheduled board meeting for this calendar year. We're going to move now a little bit into this meeting for some board elections. Right now, we are without a chair and a vice chair, so we're looking to fill those roles on today. And immediately after those positions are filled on, right after this vote, that person who is the chair, named the chair, will chair the rest of this meeting, and myself and also our advice council will be helping you along that way too. So are there any nominations from the floor for the role of chair for the Foresters Board? Everybody at one time.
If y'all are willing to serve, a self-nomination is not only acceptable, but appreciated.
And we'll help you along that way, so don't worry.
I nominate Jamie Hollis.
All right, we've got a nomination from the floor from Mr. Hollis. Mr. Hollis, first, are you accepting of that role? All right, so let's have a vote for.
We need a second for the nomination.
I'm sorry, a second for that nomination. My apologies.
Second.
All right, we got a first and also a second for Mr. Jamie Hollis for the chair. All in favor? I'm sorry, is there another nomination for the role of chair? All right, hearing and seeing none, and with the acceptance of Mr. Hollis, do we have a vote for Mr. Hollis being chair for the board?
All in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes do have it, and Mr. Hollis, you are now the named chair of this board here. So if you want to come take your rightful seat, sir. Williams, would you move his laptop over here, if you don't mind?
All right, with the business of the chair taken care of, do we have a nomination for the vice chair?
The vice chair would actually be in your stead if you're not present at meetings. So they would be that person chairing all meetings, and they would also be that de facto in absence of you.
Positions have a term, or is this a life sentence?
Well, it will be the 1 year that we will actually do a vote every year around that same time each year for the remainder of that year, that calendar year, that person would serve as the chair and or vice chair. So it will be more of a continuous role, a revolving role, if you all decide to do that as well. So that person could be in it for 1 year or 10 years. It's all up to your colleagues.
Mills.
All right, we have a nomination from Mr. Michael Mills for vice chair. Do we have a second?
Second.
Austin? Discussion? Any other? Having none, all in favor of Mr. Mills as vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries. Mr. Mills is our vice chair.
Right.
To the agenda, the approved excused absences. Who's absent today?
We don't have Mr. Justin Hilton with us on today, Mr. Chair. So we can get an excused absence for him.
And just so the board is aware, do we have a reason why Mr. Hilton is not present?
I do not have a reason. No, ma'am.
Yeah, question on that. I know he's not been to a meeting yet. I know Chip asked last time, does he know about it? But is anybody in contact with him at all about?
So I can't disclose something for the record, of course, for one absence up from a meeting, not on record, but I'm not sure about this absence for this day. But he has been notified, and we have been reaching out to him as well.
Responded to your office?
I have spoken to him once since then. My staff has spoken to him also since that time, but again, not presently for this meeting for today.
And I think y'all are aware, but you have the option to approve or disapprove an absence.
I guess the biggest concern, is his availability to be here, going forward, That's something I guess somebody needs to reach out to him.
We'll reach out to his office again today to make sure everything is okay with him.
Penalties for unexcused absence.
If there are consistent absences, this would be a consideration as far as continued board service or reappointment to the position.
Has he attended any meeting since he's been on the board? To my knowledge, I haven't seen him.
No, sir.
But this time, we'll entertain the motion to disapprove his absence.
I would suggest not approving pending Johnny's office contacting him to see if there is a reason.
Brandon Babb, second that.
Discussion? In favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
And if you don't mind for clarification, if a reason is given, would you want this to be addressed at the next board meeting after consultation with the chair?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. We'll take a look at our meeting minutes back from March 13th. Johnny, which one of those is that in our folder?
That would be labeled number 8. That fresh on yours then.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, board members, before we get too far into our meeting, I just want to recognize one of our past board members that's present with us on today, Mr. Chip Maley. So, Mr. Maley, if you don't mind, if you could just come forward for us just for a moment. We just want to recognize you on this day through these board executive remarks and report.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maley. And you too. Enjoy retirement.
Yes, all right.
All right. Thank you all so very much for us just taking that moment just to appreciate one of our members for the board. I just want to call to your attention just some noteworthy remarks just from the board executive. Again, let me just say good morning to each and every one of you and welcome to our last official board meeting of the year. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving and preparing yourselves for the next holiday that is arising very, very quickly. So I hope that you all have an enjoyable time with your family and your friends on the days coming. So before we get too far into our meeting, just got a couple of housekeeping notes prior to, just that we're all made aware of this. Our advice council already spoke of this, but I think that it's very noteworthy to mention this once again. While you're speaking in the microphones, we do ask, again, that you get just a little uncomfortably close to that microphone so that your voice can be captured. Not only are we wanting, of course, our court reporter and our staff member that's transcribing those minutes, we are also streaming via YouTube. So we want to make sure that our streaming platform, those participants are able to hear what's going on live here in the meeting. Right now, you will see, of course, that red light that is illuminated. That means that the microphone, of course, is enabled. Of course, when it goes off, that means that you're not being able to be heard to the galley or also to the streaming platform. If you are needing to have any kind of conversation that you do not want to be captured for the record, there are going to be 3 dots on your microphone system there. You would just hold that down and that would mute you so that no one can hear you of your conversation that you wish to have with your colleagues. Board members, just to serve as a reminder, well, first, let me take a little step back. Of course, we just ushered out one of our board, or 2 of our board members, which means we actually have 2 more board members now that have been placed on this Foresters board. We have Mr. Guy Sabin that has joined with us, and we also have Mr. Joy Austin that has joined with us. So we'll give them an opportunity to speak a little bit about themselves also too in this moment if you would like.
Thank you. I just recently started a new position with the South Carolina Forestry Commission after working at the Forestry Association of South Carolina for many years. My role with the commission will be Resource Development Section Chief. So my team is heavily focused on economic development, attracting new forest industry into the state, looking for export opportunities and other places around the world that we can sell and distribute forest products from South Carolina. Also houses the forest inventory and analysis and timber product output and use data. So we have some fantastic resources and a brilliant team. Our industry here in South Carolina.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sabin.
Well, I'm Joey Austin. I've been around this business for a long time, so I'm looking forward to being on the board and learning just that much more about some of the other sides of our business. So it's always nice to be challenged a little extra sometimes to do some things. So I look forward to working with the board.
Thank you, gentlemen, so very much for the introduction. Mr. Sabin replaces Mr. Chip Maley, and Mr. Joy Austin, he replaces Mr. Christian Hendricks. So again, welcome to the board, board members. All right, so moving right along for that board executives report. Board members, for your information, the 2025-2027 renewal closed on June 30th. However, the late renewal did extend until September the 30th. So any individuals doing a late renewal after or wanting to submit a late renewal after September the 30th, they now have to reinstate. They would have to submit that reinstatement application along with those CFE requirements as the statutes and the regulations do state. So right now, again, we are out of that renewal, and we are now back to the active status per se when it comes down to those licenses. And as of today, this board has 620 active registered foresters that have successfully renewed their licenses, or registrations rather. And not very much to actually provide to you today in the form of a board executives report. A lot of that's going to be in our new business. But lastly, board members, in your meeting materials, you will see a copy of the finance report, which is there. And board members, give me one moment. My computer just closed on me. My apologies, board members. But in your board meeting materials, you will see that you all have an ending cash balance as of October 31st of $129,221.97, and that is now through the renewal time. But at our next scheduled board meeting, we will most definitely give you all a much breakdown of this financial report. Just going forward, you will receive that information. And if you have any questions, I can entertain those now.
Is there anything that you can tell us about the renewal rate from this last season, and just kind of an overall perspective too on whether our numbers are growing or shrinking over the last couple of years?
So when you say renewal rate, is that going to be the actual renewal, the registrants, or the actual
Percentage of registered foresters that renewed this year?
Okay, I actually don't have that information right offhand, but I will provide that information to you also. My apologies, board members, I don't have that today.
Can you say over the last couple of years whether the number of registered foresters in South Carolina is declining?
It is staying about the same. I've not really seen an uptick or a decrease in that. We stay around that same. You will have normally about a 10% that would drop off, or that would actually just let the licenses lapse or expire. But I have not seen that thus far. But I will be running a report, of course, this month for the end of that quarter, just to show just that uptick, or also just that downfall in those numbers, and be able to provide more numbers to you all that will be more beneficial for you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
We now ready to move to our OIE report?
Yes, sir. And in the absence of B and C, I'll be providing those reports, Mr. Chair. So for the Office of Investigation and Enforcement, the OIE status report, there is none. This board is really good. You all don't have anything there. And also for the IRC, there is no report to provide to you all. And also for the Office of Disciplinary Counsel, Ms. Leanna McMenamin wants me to let you all know there is nothing in her office as well. So we are all good to go.
Any other staff reports before we move on to new business?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay. All right, moving on to new business. Overview of board member conduct and responsibilities.
That is me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I go into what I wanted to kind of touch on for y'all, I wanted to explain for the new board members what you just heard, OIE, IRC. Mr. Saban knows, you work for any kind of a state agency, there are acronyms all over the place, right? If you were to have someone make a complaint against a licensee, and disciplinary action might need to be taken, the functions of investigation, prosecution, and adjudication have to be separated by provisions of the South Carolina Constitution when you're dealing with an administrative agency. So there is a branch of LLR where the investigations come into, originate, and are conducted. The Office of Investigations and Enforcement is just that, OIE. A complaint comes in, it gets reviewed. If it looks like there is anything in the complaint that, if true, would be something this board would have jurisdiction over, then it moves on in the investigative process. The investigator would go out, talk to people, subpoena documents, collect evidence, and if the information that is collected will be presented in a formal review process at the investigative review conference. That's where the prosecuting attorney, the ODC attorney, the board executive, a professional member, and the investigator get together with all the evidence that's been collected and determine what recommendation will be made to you as the board as to how that case proceeds. You'll be presented just the bare bones recommendation. You're not going to get a lot of information because you still have to adjudicate it. But this is the way to give y'all an opportunity to weigh in on whether something needs to move forward in the process or whether the resolution recommended by the conference is appropriate. I've never seen a disciplinary matter come before the Forestry Board, so I don't know that you're ever going to see it, and that's why you don't have reports, you don't get complaints. I think there may have been one complaint that came through that didn't make it past the review process. But I did want you to understand what these things are that are being presented to you, so you have just a little bit more of an understanding of what the processes might be. What I want to do today as your advice counsel, I'm Mary Lee, I'm your attorney, is a bit of information about what impacts you and how you make your decisions impacting the licensing base. The mission of this board and other regulatory boards is to govern who and how a regulated profession is practiced. It's a tremendous responsibility, as I'm sure you all are aware. But you are an arm of the state, as Mr. Saban is aware. And because of that, serving on a state licensing board is going to be different than any other board you may have served on. The starting point of what I wanted to discuss is that the regulation of a lawful profession is permissible only where it serves to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And Mr. Maley, I think, mentioned that when he was giving remarks. So as a board member, you accomplish this by determining the qualifications for licensure and then determining if that individual, once licensed, remains competent to safely practice forestry. You do that in part by reviewing applications and, if necessary, having a hearing on whether an applicant meets the qualifications for licensure, or, as I just mentioned, if someone is alleged to have failed to meet the standards of minimal competent practice, whether disciplinary action and what disciplinary action should be taken, not as a punitive measure, but in a way to get them back to the ability to safely practice. And if it turns out that they just can't be, what they've done is so egregious, then take away their license. Now, the provisions governing how you make these decisions are a constitutional law, Constitution, and a body of other statutes that impact your performance. The first I want to touch on is FOIA. You may have heard of it, the Freedom of Information Act. It's known in some states as sunshine laws because the body of law is intended to shine a light on how a government or licensing board works. The public, your public, which includes stakeholders and licensees, is entitled to know how the board addresses issues that come before it that impact their ability to earn a living. The board does this by posting an agenda outlining the business that the board will conduct at a meeting no later than 24 hours before the meeting. This way, if someone is particularly interested in a topic, they have time to determine how they're going to educate themselves on what has been done. They can attend the meeting in person, or they can view it on the YouTube live stream. The board also complies with the Freedom of Information Act requirements by having your meetings in an open session. The Freedom of Information Act requires a board member or government officials to discuss board business only in a properly noticed meeting and in open session. So FOIA prohibits a chance meeting, telephone conversations, and email chain at which board business is discussed in a substantive manner. There are instances, however, where the board can leave open session and go into closed session. There are two instances, general categories for that. The first, a closed session. That's where members of the public are excluded, but board staff, the court reporter, and anyone involved in the matter can remain. A closed session is permitted to protect confidential information. That includes mental or physical health treatment, substance abuse or substance abuse treatment, or financial or other personal information that may need to be discussed in detail as part of the matter in front of you. The second type of session would be executive session. That's only where the board members and your attorney remain in the room. Everyone else is excluded, and that's because the board is asking to receive legal advice. As y'all are my clients, any legal advice I give you is protected by attorney-client privilege. To protect that privilege, you go into executive session so no one else knows what your attorney is advising you in regards to the law. As a reminder, because it is privileged, you shouldn't disclose your legal advice to anyone outside of the executive session. If one person discloses the advice or breaches the privilege, then all confidentiality is lost and all information becomes public and subject to discovery. Any questions so far? I'm trying to really just touch on the high points. You have a board member reference manual, and all of this is written very well by one of my colleagues who's absolutely brilliant and such a good communicator. It's easy to read, but it's a lot of information, and it's good bedtime reading when you're having difficulty getting to sleep at night. But it will go into this in a little bit more detail. I want to talk to you very briefly about the South Carolina Ethics Act. I know y'all are aware you had to sign some financial disclosure forms, but the substantive issue for y'all as a board member is that you cannot participate in a matter in which you or a family member would have a financial interest or business relationship. So if that were to happen, for example, an applicant comes before the board for a review of their qualifications, and you have a business relationship with the company where they work. You would have a direct financial interest in the outcome of the hearing, because if they work for that company, then they may produce more money, and you may benefit from that financially. So it's an easy fix. You just need to remove yourself from the meeting. There's a specific form that you'll need to sign. It's called a recusal form. And you sign it, you say, do you have a business relationship? And then you walk out of the room, or if it's on WebEx, you leave, so that that matter can be conducted without your participation. There is nothing wrong with recusal. It just means that you have a relationship with someone, or there is another issue that would prevent you from making a full, fair decision. So when it's a financial disclosure, it's an absolutely mandatory recusal, and there could be ethics commission consequences if you don't recuse. If you have any questions, I'm always available to answer and help provide you with information to help you make a good decision. The second Ethics Act consideration is that a board member cannot lobby as a board member. You cannot attempt to influence legislation by communication with the legislator or a representative of that legislator. Now, that is not to say that you cannot express your views on legislation or other matters as a member of the profession or as a member of an association. But you have to be very, very careful to make sure that in those conversations, your role is clearly defined to the person you are speaking to. You have a board member hat, you may have an association hat, you may have a forestry hat. You have to make sure that person you are communicating with understands the role you're in to avoid any issues. The last thing I want to touch on is the Administrative Procedures Act. It sets out the rules for contested case hearings on the basis of due process principles. That's notice, right to be heard, right to introduce evidence. But the basis that I want to talk about, it goes back to what I mentioned with the Ethics Act consideration, it's recusal. Because an individual is entitled to have a fair presentation of their matter. If a board member has prior knowledge or bias or something that would make them perhaps have an opinion about the matter other than with the facts that are presented, then you would need to recuse. Again, you may have someone that you know in the community and you're aware of their reputation, and perhaps you don't think it's a good reputation. You've heard some things that have biased you against that individual. So for reasons that you want to be completely fair, you could take yourself out of it. Or perhaps it's someone you're best friends with, the opposite way. You know that person, you know they have a wonderful character. You can't imagine that anyone has ever said that they would do something that is not a competent representation of your profession. In that case, you might want to take yourself out as well, because you don't want to let your personal feelings influence the outcome of a case. Does not necessarily have to be actual. It could be perceived. These are discretionary recusal matters. So if you think someone on the outside is going to perhaps misinterpret your participation in a case as either creating a more fair or less fair situation, you may not want to be in that situation and you may wish to recuse. Any recusal, as I said, for bias or perception of bias is discretionary, and it's solely up to you. Again, I'm glad to talk you through it and help give you some information that can help you make a good decision. As you noticed today, you have board member materials that are on your website. You can access those prior to the meeting. I would ask that you may not have to do a complete and thorough review ahead of time if you don't have time, but please look over everything. That way, if you are going to have to be recused from a matter, you can let Johnny Rose know ahead of time so that we can be sure to have a quorum for a meeting. This board cannot operate if you do not have a quorum, which is 4 people. If 4 board members are not present or cannot all participate in a matter before the board, it cannot go forward. Hopefully with a board this size, you'd never run into that issue. But if you know you're going to have to be recused, or even if you know you're going to be absent, as soon as you know, please let Johnny know so that we can make sure we can go forward legally. One last issue. Because you're on the board, people are naturally going to want to talk to you. They want to ask your opinion on issues and matters that may pertain to board concerns. If you're going to have a conversation, you need to keep a few things in mind. The issue of knowing something ahead of time, due process, confidentiality issues, the Ethics Act, and the requirement of FOIA that matters be conducted where the public has access. If you have a conversation with someone about a board issue outside of a board meeting, you may need to recuse yourself, and then you can't be involved in the matter when it comes before the board. And it's not just a quorum issue, but the board loses the benefit of your expense, of your experience, which is an expense to the board. Secondly, if you have a conversation with someone outside of a board meeting, it's a risk that because no single board member can speak for the board, you're not going to know what the actual ultimate decision is going to be. Someone comes to you and say, hey, I've got this friend, and this is the issue they have, and they're going to come in front of the board. What do you think? If you give an opinion, you may not have had the full set of facts, or your fellow board members may not agree with your perception of the case. So when that matter is actually resolved, it could be a different result from what you have told that person. That person is in a pickle because they relied on what you told them. You're embarrassed because you gave them advice that the board didn't think was correct based on all the facts. And then the board looks bad because now this person has expected a result and gotten a different result. So while you're not prohibited from having conversations with people outside, best practice would be if someone asks you a question, how do I do this, what do I do, refer them to the board executive. He's extremely competent, as Mr. Malley said, and as the current board members are aware. And he can help that individual and probably give them a good, complete answer based on board past precedent that will help them move along in the process faster. Again, not a mandate, just a best practice. Finally, as I said, the boundaries, the laws, the requirements are not things that LLR has developed. These are bodies of law outside of this agency that direct how you conduct yourselves as board members and what the licensing process looks like. I'm here to help you. Really, I am from the government and I am here to help you. So please, if you have any questions, contact me. If you want my contact information, I have business cards. I'm glad to give them to you. Role is to help you make the best decision you can as a board member. I'm your attorney. Please utilize the resources you have. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for your service. It is a thankless task, and I appreciate y'all giving of your time and yourselves to serve the citizens of this state.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. Anyone have any questions for Mary regarding what we were talking about there? Thank you, ma'am. All right, Johnny, review and discussion of delegating initial applications for staff.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So the next item that we're going to be discussing is just the board's ongoing effort just to streamline the application process and the registration process that we already have in place. Just as we continue just to try to improve the workflow efficiency and the turnaround times, we're just asking that we just reevaluate and possibly look at a delegation for the initial application review process. Just specifically for those that are routine and meet all those statutory requirements, just to train staff for that direct approval. This delegation has a lot of benefits towards it, but nonetheless, just want to give you one that is very noteworthy. Just for faster processing times for our incoming registrants, just for that more timely issuance of those registrations. Staff right now, we would evaluate the applications and include those discrepancies, those disciplinary histories for that non-standard education, what we sometimes we do see, and that also that experience. But today, we're just looking at just possibly having, again, that open discussion. Don't want you all to move harshly and rashly on this piece of it. Right now, we do have a system in place to where board members, the professional board members, that is, you all are reviewing those applications and giving that approval for staff to go ahead and license those individuals. Again, we just want to just have that open discussion today, considering we do have some new incoming board members. You all may want to see how that process actually has evolved throughout these years that we've taken over. So in your meeting materials, board members, you will see at 10B a copy of the initial application, as well as the instructions and the requirements about what it is that we look for prior to sending you all that application for that final review and approval. And we're not looking for a vote today, but again, we just would like to have that discussion just to see whether or not if this is something that the board would like to move to in the future. And by me saying that, that would free the board up for those applications that may come through that may be a little harder for staff to interpret. And of course, those applications will be delegated or sent back over to a professional board member for the review and for the approvals.
So, Johnny, at the moment, that's not taking place. Everything is being sent out to approval for this board.
Correct. That's correct. And it's going to the professional board members for you all to review those applications. Any question that you all may have that staff may need to get back into or reach back out to that applicant, we will go ahead and make sure all of that is taken care of prior to sending that information for the final review for you all. And I'll say right now, we do have a turnaround time that's an average of about 15 days. Whenever we get a new application in, we like to go ahead and get that person registered as soon as possible, of course, so they can go ahead and start working. But when we gather information, and we'll have to, of course, compile that information and put that information to the board secure folder for those professional board members to look at. And we do know that you all live those have those busy schedules, of course, with working with family. So we don't want to have an overburden to you all, especially if we could be a little bit more boots on the ground per se, just looking at all of those requirements, which we already are looking at those requirements prior to sending to you all. But again, we just want to free up the board members from that task if you all would like.
Johnny, is that a common practice with other agents?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, so the requirements that you all see in your board meeting materials, I actually put those requirements in place, and that's just more statute than anything. We license, of course, according to statute and regulation. But of course, statute trumps that regulation. So again, we look at that statute, making sure that the application meets all those statutory requirements prior to us moving forward to even sending to you all for that final review. Sometimes we may miss some things. Of course, you all, professional board members who have reviewed applications, you may have reached back out to my office and say, hey, what about this piece of it? But that's the full extent, I believe, about what the board members have done thus far. And board members, if you all have reviewed those applications, correct me if I'm wrong on that piece of it, but just those little small moments, those small things that we have not caught, I believe that you all have caught and called to our attention. And I think that person have been able to get registered properly.
I just kind of touch base because I have a number of boards, and Mr. Austin, the delegation of applications that don't have issues for approval at staff level is routinely done. What's a little bit different about this board, and I think is probably what the board has been concerned about, is the experience evaluation, right? And if someone has met the requirements facially, they've gone to a school that has a forestry curriculum, they meet the education, they have 2 years of experience under a registered forester, then that's something that really doesn't take a lot of discretionary review on your part. They've ticked the box, they've ticked the box. Is it of a character sufficient to show competency? I think in the past, this board has determined if you've got those 2 years under registered forester, right? So that's, I think, what Johnny is looking at. If it ticks the box, if there aren't any questions, then they would want to move these individuals through more quickly, if y'all have a comfort level with that. It's those that may not, those who do not have graduated from a school with the Forestry Commission, and you're looking at the more extensive experience is kind of making up for that education component. Or someone who has the 2 years experience has done it in a piecemeal manner in different locations, then that may need some well. So it's not a matter of taking any discretion away from the board, but if there's something that's just check, 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 done, let that move through the process. Is that correct, Mr. Oz?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. Thank you, Ms. Malik.
That's something to chew on.
And we're not looking for a vote today. When we do get another application or initial application, we'll definitely send to one of our new board members for you all to get more of that training process, just to see exactly what it is that we're looking at, and we'll go from there. But this will be on our next agenda for more discussion and possibly a vote.
Not having been through that process, it certainly seems to me that staff is more than capable of evaluating that initial application, providing a faster and more efficient turnaround for those applicants, provided there is not questionable experience that would need further. I would support turning more of that initial review function over.
Okay, are we looking to discuss a little bit more of that?
My experience reviewing applications, the ones that were sent to professional level review were everything was in order, like Miss Mary alluded to, a checkbox. Everybody met all the check boxes, and in years past, when there was an issue with experience or education, it always our board to discuss. But in general, the ones that were emailed for a approval, everything was kosher. Some other board member may have reviewed some and saw a discrepancy, but I haven't seen any discrepancies in the ones that I've reviewed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mills. All right. So at our next scheduled board meeting on next year, we'll have this on the agenda again, just for a little bit more discussion. Maybe we'll have a couple of applications that come through to where, again, we could go through with our new board members for them to, of course, look at that, just to familiarize themselves with that process. And of course, we'll come back to the table possibly for a vote at that next meeting. All right. Thank you all so much.
To our next topic looks to be sort of in a similar vein, doesn't it?
Yes, sir, and that's me again. I'm doing a lot of talking today on the agenda. All right, thank you again, Mr. Chair. But this item just concerns this transferring of the review and the approval of the continuing forestry education audits just for a staff level approval. First, just to give you a little bit of the background of the audits and the review of the audits. Right now, what we do about a 6% audit for this board, which is about 40 registrants that we do have. And currently, what we would do, we would divvy those audits up, and we would actually send those to those professional board members once we have looked at all of those audits, just to make sure that they do check those boxes with the hours that they are supposed to be receiving, as well as those core requirements prior to actually sending them to the board members for a review. We would take a board meeting just to review those audits all together. And then we would send those registrants who have been pulled for that audit either a pass or a fail, letting them know, of course, that they passed that audit or they failed that audit, and possibly that next step for them. But on today, we're asking that we as staff have that delegation. At our last meeting, we did discuss and vote on going to CE Broker. CE Broker is that continuing education software to where they actually gather and apparently they're housing that information too for those persons who are being audited. And CE Broker's taking on a lot of the brunt for us. They're actually doing the notification, they're doing the gathering of it, and what we'll do is we'll log into a software, and we would go in there and we would actually go and review those audits, and of course give them a pass or fail, or we would actually forward that individual for some more information. We have not yet utilize CE Broker just yet, because again, we just closed that renewal on September the 30th and wanted to meet with you all first prior to trying to gather the information or just even call for an audit. Of course, getting that delegation so that, again, my staff can go ahead and use the CE Broker software to gather those audits, as well as go ahead to review and possibly approve or send for more questions. And if there are any audits that look a little wanky, we would definitely send that over to a board member, professional board member, for them to review that for their approval or just for more question for that registrant.
Johnny, in the past, were audits sent out for board approval, or was that handled by someone else?
Yes, sir. We actually did that in-house. So everything was done in-house. And again, we moved to CE Broker just for more of that compliance piece of it. Not only do we license and register individuals here, but also a form of LLR is the compliance piece. And we just want to make sure that we're staying in compliance with reviewing those continuing education audits, or those credits rather.
Johnny, can you describe our relationship with the Society of American Foresters for tracking CFEs, or is that a function that CE Broker pursued
Right.
instead?
So I did have a conversation with CE Broker some time ago in that same regard. Right now, they are not in the, they cannot interface with SAF or SAF about that right now. Not sure what the future does hold, considering technology does evolve every day. That would be something I can definitely ask CE Broker as well as staff over there. I think Melissa and we have a lot of conversation, so I'll definitely mention that to her again about the interfacing. But as to date, right now there is no interfacing between CE Broker and SAF's process.
SAF a primary source of data when you're doing those reviews instead of through CE Broker?
So when you ask that question, are you asking is the credits coming a lot from SAF? We do see a lot of those credits coming from SAF, which are already approved. We already know, but there are some that do get the outside source, but the majority of we do see SAF coming in. And from what I do remember with SAF, they actually give out a printout as well. And I'm pretty sure that CE Broker, they will be able to take that printout too that SAF does provide to all registrants, and they could upload that information into that CE Broker module, and that would actually be approved too as well for their CE credit.
I'd like to move that we delegate CFE audits to staff.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Also very much, board members.
All right, looks like.
Johnny, do you need to vote on the percentage of audit?
We did, I believe, at the last meeting, but let's make sure. I believe we did, but it was a 6% that we normally would do. If you all are wanting to revisit that, we can go up on that percentage if you all would like. Again, CE Broker is going to capture a whole lot of information, so that would be on the movement of this board of what that percentage you all would like. But 6 is about 40 registrants out of 653.
Comments from the board in regards to that?
I think if CE Broker is going to have that information easily accessible instead of all this having to be mailed in, it may be easy just to go up sure that people are getting their CEs.
Okay. You all like to revisit the percentage from 6% to what percentage would you all like? I would ask if we could just stay under the double digits, because what would happen is my staff will be still on that front line reviewing those audits. And again, if anything were to look a little funny, we would send those again to those professional board members for you all to have to lay your that just for question and also for an approval as well.
Johnny, had it been a lower percentage in the past than 6?
I believe the lowest we have gone is a 5%. And again, these audits are random audits, and it's going to be really up to the board. I'm not sure if there is a statutory requirement or regulation requirement out there, Ms. League, that would prevent the board from calling 2 audits a year. I'm not sure, but possibly we could move to have 1 audit done by the first of the year and call another audit. I'm not sure how that actually is spelled out in our statutes or our regulations, but again, it is a random called audit.
Generally, it's 1 audit near the conclusion of renewal, since continuing education is a requirement for renewal. Doing it in the middle of the year, you're not capturing the data at a time when you need to ensure that someone is actually qualified to hold that license.
During that audit process, how many do you have fall out of compliance?
I would say generally maybe about 2, but it's mostly just they didn't submit all the paperwork. But it's nothing that we don't get corrected on the front end. And Ms. Williams, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've not really had anyone that fell out of compliance that just was not short hours because they didn't submit them. This is a pretty good group.
Any other comments or anything in regards to the percentage or to the audit process? We'll move on to our next item on the agenda, the virtual registration
So,
cards.
Mr. Chair, just very quickly to back up to that item, are we staying at the 6%? Are we going up a couple of percent numbers? Are we staying at the 6?
No one made a motion, so I assumed we were staying at the 6.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I was taking that,
All right. Thank you so much.
unless,
Well, I would move to increase it a couple percentage, and then, you know, after you see how CE Broker is in another year or two, you may want to go up more if it seems very easy process, but initially just bump it a couple percent.
so you have a motion to go from 6 to 8%.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of increasing the audit percentage from 6 to 8%, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The motion carries.
Thank you also very much.
All right. Now we'll move on to the registration cards. I know those are in our packet here. Is that Johnny?
Yes, sir, it is. You'll have a couple of those. You'll have 10D in parentheses 1, and I believe you'll have a 2 as well. So it's me again on the agenda. So as part of modernization efforts and the response to our registrants' feedback, we're just exploring the option of issuing a virtual registration card during that renewal cycle rather than printing those physical cards. In your meeting materials, board members, again, you're going to see that item listed as 10D in parentheses 1. That first version, that is what we send out from this office here to all of those registrants who renew their licenses by that June 30th or that September 30th date. They would get that card sent directly to them via the U.S. mail, again, from this office. But moving forward, we've seen that several other boards have successfully transitioned to the system of the online system. And it just aligns really with our agency-wide move towards that electronic convenience for all of our licensees and registrants. So you'll also see under that 10D, I believe in parentheses 2, you would see what that individual would do after they have renewed their license. They would be able to go online. They would be able to hit one button, and that button will, of course, bring up their electronic online license registration or that pocket card, and they could print that pocket card out should they need it from the convenience of their home or their office. So this would actually save the board just a little bit of money as well, because we know that postage, of course, is going up. And again, this world is really evolving to the technology. So we would just, again, like to see this piece of it evolve along with that technology piece to where individuals, again, they could utilize that online system and print that card out should they need to.
Any thoughts, or go ahead?
Just as a point of discussion, you know, as much as I like using paper products, it's been an awful long time since I've held an actual concert ticket or an airline ticket in the wallet on my phone. So it certainly seems that everything else we do in our lives is moving in this direction. Having a virtual card for registration.
We have that in the form of a motion.
think I'm just testing the waters right now and seeing if anyone else agrees.
Any other comments in this regard?
One thing, I mean, we are moving in that direction as a society, but there again, that was what puts us in some of the positions we're in now. So it's moving forward, but we hate to see things change, and we like to see people use paper, but you know, that is one of the movements. It is easier to get it out and to have access to it online compared to having paper.
One thing that I was thinking about is when you go to these online type things, there's some folks that do have trouble with that. Would there be an opportunity here if someone requested one that they could contact?
Absolutely, yes, sir. And even for that matter, I am going to be talking with my managers to see if we could actually make that an option on that renewal form and also that electronic form for an individual if they did not want to utilize the online system of going to their profile to print that out. We could have that option out there on that form to say they don't want to opt into it. They would still receive that paper registration. So, and also too, just for clarification and just for information, that would not include the actual initial registration. They will still get the initial license, and that initial license will be the actual wall certificate and that pocket card. So right now, this is only just for those renewals, and I just wanted to make that point of clarification.
Does change require a vote from the board?
It will, yes, sir. And we don't have to, you all don't have to vote on this today. This could be something we could bring back to you all at the next scheduled meeting. I will say that we are done with the renewal process right now, and we will not do another renewal until 2027. So we got a little bit of time to think about this. Again, we don't have to vote on it today, but just wanted to bring it to you all's attention, considering we just came out of a renewal. And again, we do see a lot of other boards that are successfully using this process, and they are really giving their thumbs up about the use of not as much paper and license cards, as well as that postage that's not being utilized as well.
I'll recommend that we consider this next meeting, especially if you can confirm whether I have the ability to make that an option the licensee can choose.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, I assume we're still heading with you down the road here. Point of contact for legislative matters.
All right, and if you don't mind, I'm going to throw this one over to our legal counsel. She is a guru when it comes down to all legislative matters and statutes and regulations. So I want to give this over to Ms. Lee, if she doesn't mind.
So not a guru, know nothing about the legislative process. That's why we have governmental affairs people who are brilliant at that. However, what the Office of Governmental Affairs is looking for is the delegate appointed by the board who, if necessary, would be the individual who would go to the State House if forestry-related matters were to come before the House or the Senate in the committee or subcommittee, and they would request testimony from the board representative. So I'm not aware of anything out there currently affecting forestry that something could happen. We just want someone that we could pull in as quickly as possible. Sometimes we don't always have more than 24 hours notice, who would be willing to come and just answer any questions or give some perspective to the committee members. Someone who doesn't mind talking and someone who could be available on fairly short notice if necessary. Doesn't happen short notice very often, but It could. So perhaps an individual who's willing to do it and then a backup or two would be helpful.
If you were going to consider doing this, would there be any issues with your current employment?
That would be exactly my question. If there would be no conflict of interest as a state employee, I would certainly be willing to serve in this role. I believe I'm the most local of the group here and could be readily.
My only concern would be the conflict. I would hate to put you in that position where disparities in perspective. I'd leave that up to you.
Well, I was asking.
I mean, I could see a potential for that. I mean, and I'm always an abundance of caution kind of person. I'd probably say maybe have you as backup if necessary, but probably not the primary point of contact. Traditionally, it is the board chair, but doesn't have to be.
A lot today.
Would it be appropriate for me to take on that role and then defer to Jamie?
I would be okay with that, for sure.
You would be the primary point of contact, and then the board chair would be next. If the board is comfortable with that, then y'all could.
Okay.
I'm making a motion that we have guys our thing and Jamie is the backup.
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion. Thank you, Guy. All right, discussion and vote for vice chair role for the Association of State Boards of Registers Forest.
All right, thank you again, Mr. Chair. So as many of you know, board members, that ASBORF plays a very significant role in connecting regulatory forestry boards across this country. So the organization right now is looking to fill a vice chair role. They've extended the opportunity for an individual from South Carolina to sit on that role, to sit in that position. Right now, that role is really not defined per se about what that person would be doing. But of course, in absence of that president or that chair, you all would, that person here from South Carolina would sit and of course chair those meetings. I will say that right now, they have slated for us here in South Carolina to host the next meeting. It's going to be in 2027. So that's why they're looking for that vice chair role to be filled from South Carolina, because after next year's meeting in 2026, I believe that's going to be held in Tennessee. Tennessee will then flip it to South Carolina, and South Carolina in 2027 will be that chair for the year. So again, they're looking for 2026 of a vice chair role here in South Carolina, but in 2027, that person will serve as chair. So it will be that progression. But again, today they're looking for just a candidate for that vice chair role who's willing to sit as that vice chair. Again, you'll be getting a lot of meeting information from myself as well as from the contacts at ASBORF. and we'll just move from there. But again, it's not a lot of work. I do sit in a lot of those meetings, and I will say that we just have a really good time in those meetings, just really opening up about our state regulations, our statutes, our processes. So again, it's nothing that will overburden you per se. And again, if it does overburden you, put the burden on me because I definitely do enjoy all of that when it comes to ASBORF and all their functionalities.
I'm not sure which board members have attended any of the ASBOR meetings, but my experience, have not, but my experience with the national board groups, it's such a wonderful forum for exchanging ideas and finding out what's working in other states, what's not working, what the common issues are. Urge y'all not necessarily just to accept the vice chair, but to attend the meetings, because I think it's very valuable in your role as board member to get all this national perspective. Vice chair would be a wonderful opportunity.
One of the agenda items that we did discuss in the form of the application process, the turnaround times, that was an idea that I actually pulled from the state of Georgia. Right now, we do mimic our application process sort of like theirs, but they do have, of course, their individual process and when they actually do review and approve at that time to their staff. So that was one of those things that I did bring back from ASBORF. So that's one of those highlights there that's very beneficial. And again, to Ms. Lee's credit, just about having that camaraderie with those different states. And again, I'll walk with you all through the whole process as vice chair.
Interested in taking on that role?
If I may, one more thing too. So their meetings, I think I've already stated that, but their meetings every other year is going to be an online virtual meeting. This year we had a virtual meeting. 2026 will be an in-person meeting. And 2027, the year in which we'll host here in South Carolina, it will be a virtual meeting. So not a lot of travel will be needed. Just a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of virtual meetings, but at least one virtual meeting a year.
Rotate off after your chair position, or?
Yes, sir. It is a progression. So after that year, if somebody's serving as, again, that vice chair to that chair role, a year in that vice chair role, then a year in the chair's role, and then that person will roll off. Then that next, it would actually take on that the role of vice chair and also chair. So it's only a one-year term.
Have any nominations?
To our public members, they are asking for a registered forester, so it couldn't be any of our public members.
At the risk of over-volunteering myself, I'm willing to take that on and do that. I have participated in some ASBORF meetings in the past in my role with the South Carolina Foresters Council. Found it to be an extremely valuable group. I would certainly encourage anyone who's able to participate, but
All right, thank you, Guy. Anyone else interested? Need that motion, Johnny?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion for Guy to be our representative.
Have a second?
Second, Mills.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Guy. Appreciate it. All right, moving on down to the review and approval of investigative review conference.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and board members. I would ask if we could defer this item into our next meeting. The individual in which I have been reaching out to and vetting, I have not received their information for confirmation just yet. We've been in the process of working with this for a couple of months now. this individual has been extremely busy with a lot of an uptick of work from them. So again, I don't have anything to present tangible in your hands in the form of a resume. All I have is that name, and I'm sure that you all would know that person, but definitely again want to have that document and again something tangible, so to make that proper introduction of this individual to this board. For our investigative or IRC conference, we do have one person in which we actually did vote in, I believe, at our last meeting, who serves as an IRC member. Again, we don't get a whole lot of complaints, if any at all. So we just needed at least one more person to serve on that IRC in case there was a conflict of interest with the current member that we do have. But again, we don't foresee anything coming down the pipeline as of yet. But again, at our next scheduled meeting, we would love to present this individual to you all in the form of their resume and, of course, their experience and history.
Who was our past member on this?
It is David Nagel. Yep, that's it. Mr. Nagel over from the commission.
Johnny, does this mean then that functions, forgive me if I have the acronyms wrong here, the OIE and the ODC are handled in-house by, but the IRC investigative review conference is made up by people that are selected?
Yes, sir. There's two outside professional members, of course, just for more standard practice. Then you'll have myself serve on that IRC as well as that investigator, as well as the ODC attorney. They will get together and, of course, just discuss just the happenings of that case. Very briefly, and of course, ask that professional member their expertise, because again, that professional member does have that registration to serve as a registered forester. They would know a little bit more of the practice opposed to the staff here at LLR. And I would ask Ms. League to jump in and clean that up legally just a little bit for us too.
He did a fine job. As indicated before, the conference has those individuals participating to determine if there's enough evidence to bring a case forward in a process. And the professional member is the person who would provide the input as to whether or not a practice standard has been met or is questionable, and would guide the determination really as to what the recommendation to the board would be as far as whether it should move. Really, because the board can't be part of it, they sort of stand in board member shoes. Professional experience.
All right, well, we'll move on to agenda topics for our future meetings. Anyone have any topics that we need to get the agenda?
I'd like to suggest an item for consideration and move in the future. You know, I think over many years of being a registered forester, one issue I hear frequently from retired, is there an option to reduce the registration? Professional status has changed. And you know, always in the past, it's been a pretty clear line. You're a registered forester or you're not a registered forester. Since we have implemented a new practice where foresters with experience and of a certain age exempted from taking, also not be part of the audit process, I'd like this group to consider whether there's an opportunity to reduce the registration fees for those who are exempted from tracking biennial CFEs for registration.
My comment to that was be that if they're not having to take all of the classes for CFEs, they're already receiving a huge financial discount having to have the CEs versus $5 a year dues. hired person, because the cost younger professional is a cost of hotels and registration, so they're already getting, in my mind, they're already getting a discount being retired. That's just a comment.
I'm going to jump in and just, this is not on the agenda now, so it's just being proposed for an agenda, a future agenda. And I understand you wanted to say, yeah, I'm not so sure that needs to be an agenda item, you just need to be very careful not to get into discussion. I think that that's been brought up, and the board chair can chew on that and decide whether or not he
Absolutely.
wishes it to be a.
Any other topics for future meetings? I mean, is this where we might also schedule our next meeting?
So our next meeting has already been scheduled, Mr. Chair and board members. Right now, we do have a date scheduled for March the 19th, and it's going to be held in the PD room. And after this meeting, and before the close of this week, you all will start now receiving these meetings in the form of a meeting invitation via your calendars. So you'll get that meeting invite. It's going to go directly on your calendar, and of course, you all will receive that board information a little bit before, of course, before the board meeting, along the same topics of agenda items, and also anything that you would like to have spoken on about on the agenda. We'll make sure that we send out no later than February the 1st. So March 19th is that next scheduled meeting.
And you spoke to this earlier, but the opportunity for putting agenda items, to add agenda items is up through what point? 24 hours ahead?
So we close the agenda at least 2 weeks in advance. Yes, sir. So what we'll do is we'll actually send out that information to you all ahead of time. So before the close of this week, we'll send out just a synopsis about how that works, about getting items added to the agenda prior to the close of it.
Do we have any other business before we close today? At this point in our meeting, we open up the floor to public comment today.
Sir, Mr. Chair, no public today.
Having none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Second that motion.
Both folks did it at the same time.
Austin, you got it.
Thank you, everybody.